Imagine a dark-haired Egyptian queen, disheveled and trembling, being dragged past jeering crowds at the Roman Forum. People climbed statues and rooftops for a glimpse of the prisoner, whispering the name of Cleopatra. But look closer at the young woman in heavy iron chains. This is Arsinoe, Cleopatra's younger sister. Cleopatra isn't weeping for her. She's the one who ordered the execution. To understand the real Cleopatra, we have to look past the myth of the swooning romantic and see a highly calculated political strategist. She used financial leverage, betrayal, and execution as standard tools to eliminate her rivals and secure absolute power. Look at this carving showing agricultural workers processing grain. For centuries, the Nile's surplus grain fed an empire and made the Ptolemaic dynasty wildly wealthy. But by the time 18-year-old Cleopatra ascended the throne with her 10-year-old brother, Ptolemy, weak floods and massive debt to Roman creditors had completely drained the treasury. Co-ruling was never part of her plan. For nearly 2 years, she sidelined her younger brother. She held state ceremonies alone, signed official decrees without his name, and minted coins featuring only her own face. Ptolemy's advisors saw their opening. They stoked the boy king's resentment and weaponized the public's anger over Roman debts to turn the Alexandrians against her. By the summer of 49 BCE, palace guards forced Cleopatra out of the city and wiped her name from the official records. In the Egyptian royal family, a sibling was a direct existential political threat. You either outmaneuvered them or they removed you. Cleopatra spent a year in exile, recruiting a mercenary army to march on her brother. Before she could strike, Julius Caesar arrived in Alexandria to collect the massive, unpaid debt Egypt owed to Rome. She knew whoever reached Caesar first would control Egypt's future. To bypass her brother's guards, she left her troops behind, sailed to the royal district at night, and had herself smuggled into Caesar's private quarters, hidden inside a linen sack. By sunrise, she had his ear. She converted a hostile Roman creditor into a personal ally, securing Caesar's military backing to reclaim her throne. Imposing an unpopular queen back on the throne ignited Alexandria. Cleopatra and Caesar found themselves trapped inside the palace as her ambitious teenage sister Arsinoe stepped forward to lead the opposition. For 4 months, Arsinoe directed a massive siege against them. When Roman reinforcements finally broke through the city's defenses, the opposition was crushed. Her brother Ptolemy drowned in the Nile trying to escape, and Arsinoe was taken prisoner. Coldly, Cleopatra immediately cleaned house. She executed her remaining teenage brother and replaced him with her newborn son, Caesarion, locking in her alliance with Rome. Using the sheer force of Roman intervention, she wiped out the entire Ptolemaic line of succession. With her rival siblings dead or in chains, she stood as the undisputed ruler of Egypt. That security vanished when Caesar was assassinated in Rome. Left vulnerable, Cleopatra had to negotiate with the new powerhouse controlling the East, the Roman general Mark Antony. Antony summoned her, fully expecting her to comply. Instead, she made him wait. When she finally arrived, it was on a gilded ship with purple sails, a calculated display of the Egyptian treasury's immense wealth. Their famous alliance was sealed with brutal terms. Cleopatra agreed to fund his eastern military campaigns. In exchange, Antony's men stormed the Temple of Artemis, seen here in its ruined state today, dragged her sister Arsinoe out of sanctuary and executed her. This partnership was built on hard financial leverage and targeted assassinations. Cleopatra managed her empire like a pragmatic CEO. Antony's next move was an invasion of the Parthian Empire. It was a complete disaster. He lost a quarter of his army, limped back to Syria, and desperately asked Cleopatra to bail him out. As this chart illustrates, the cost of Antony's lost campaign was staggering. Seeing the failing return on investment, she made a calculated choice. She delivered basic rations, but strictly withheld the heavy silver required to pay his troops. Antony eventually scraped out a victory in Armenia the following year and threw a massive ceremony in Alexandria. As we see on this silver coin, their political power was now officially merged. He crowned her Queen of Kings and declared her son, Caesarion, the true Roman heir. This secured Cleopatra's goal of expanding Egyptian territory, but it crossed a fatal red line. Naming her son the true heir was a direct challenge to the authority of Caesar's adopted son in Rome, Octavian. That challenge put Octavian in a dangerous position. If Caesarion was the legitimate heir, Octavian's entire claim to power vanished. Rome couldn't afford another civil war, so Octavian got creative. He illegally seized Antony's will and read it aloud to the Senate. He framed their political conflict as a war against a bewitching foreign queen who had corrupted a great Roman general. The weaponized public relations campaign successfully rebranded the queen as a manipulative seductress to unify Rome against a foreign threat. We still live with the echoes of Octavian's propaganda today. The propaganda worked, and Octavian declared war. The two massive fleets clashed at the Gulf of Actium. Cleopatra had invested 700 tons of silver into this armada, only to watch Antony's forces get trapped in the marshes, dying of malaria before the fighting even peaked. This carved relief gives us a sense of the heavy Roman galleys filling the Gulf. When Cleopatra saw the battle was lost, she didn't hesitate. She ordered her 60-ship squadron to break through the blockade and head for the open sea, prioritizing the safety of the royal treasury. A romantic heroine would have gone down with the ship. A geopolitical strategist cuts her losses, protects her capital, and retreats to set up the next negotiation. Octavian's army arrived in Alexandria, aiming to capture the queen alive and seize the Egyptian wealth he desperately needed to pay off his own troops. Cleopatra retreated into her mausoleum, locking herself inside with her massive treasury and stacks of firewood. She made her position clear. If Octavian tried to take Egypt's wealth, he would have to watch it burn. In the final hours, Antony's servants carried him into the mausoleum, where he died in her arms. Knowing she would be paraded through Rome in shackles, just like her sister, Cleopatra refused to become a pawn and chose to take her own life. Octavian won the war and dictated the narrative for the next 2 millennia. But with her final calculation, Cleopatra denied Rome's ultimate triumph, dying by her own choice and ensuring her story remained Egypt's most enduring legacy.